You like that song there, Timmesha?
Listen, I wish you would turn it back on while we're having this chat, Daryl. I'm serious. That's the jam.
I love that album so far. Beyonce has done it again. But thank you, folks.
Yes, she has.
Peace. Thank you for joining us for an edition of Business with Benefits. To my right, you will have Queen Timmesha Burgess. How you doing, Queen?
I am hanging in there, Daryl. Much like you, handling our personal lives and getting right back to business. I'm feeling really good. Thank you. How are you?
Good. It's sunny for once. It's been raining in Georgia every day, I felt like, for the last month. So at least it's
Yeah.
sunny out today.
Yeah. That feels good. That feels really good. Thank you.
Good. Well, I want to start out real quick with the formalities. Thank you to hashtag Team Live, hashtag Team Replay. However you consume the content, we appreciate it. Please let us know in the comments and where you're watching from. And Timmesha and I met through comments and her posting positive content, but also mixing technology with it. So for the people that don't know who you are, kind of let them know what you do and why you know something about pain going into power. Actually, hold up on the pain to power. Let them know what you do first so they can find out your story and what your company does.
Absolutely. And if you guys haven't seen already, I am a global goodwill humanitarian. My humanitarian work is surrounded by women and girls who are turning their own pain into their own power, specifically women and girls who struggle with what we call mental health disorders such as anxiety and depression. I'm also a writer. I've written several articles on turning pain into power. The very first article I've written was titled Me Too, Shifting the Narrative, a new thought perspective on turning pain into power. And my most recent one is Anxiety and Depression Speaks. What are they trying to tell you? It is a theory on mental health disorders in leaders of public trust. Now, fill in the blank how you feel about that yourselves, but I would suggest going over and reading the article. I've also written an article called Fear of Feminine Power is a Mental Disorder. So I guess it's no secret what my work is and what I'm doing on the planet as far as empowering women and turning pain into power. But Fear of Feminine Power highlights women and girls who have not only survived but escaped FGM, female genitalia mutilation.
Mm-hmm.
Women and girls who have not only survived but escaped childhood marriage, sex trafficking, and how all of these heinous practices that are called traditions, right, play on the mental health of women and girls in our neighboring country. And I'm also a tech founder. I developed a software when I had no idea of how to do it. And I had no idea of how to do it or what I was doing when I developed the software. But the reason why was because there are a number of healthcare professionals that exist, within healthcare that do not work in hospitals, right? A number of healthcare professionals that do not necessarily work in hospice or nursing homes and are left behind as we, delve ahead in adopting more telehealth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a pandemic going on before the pandemic, right? There was a cry for help from a number of professionals who were just hidden or left behind in the dark crevices of healthcare. And that industry is the intellectual developmental disabilities industry. And a lot of times, Daryl, what I noticed is when I mention IDD or intellectual developmental disabilities, right? That's a tongue twister. A lot of people don't even know what that is, right? What is IDD? And
Mm-hmm.
so when I developed Synergy, I realized it was more than just bringing a software to market, bringing a technology to market. I realized there was a two-part to this. I had to also educate people on who the heck we were at all, right? People didn't even know we existed. So when I say that there are a number of providers and professionals that are left in the dark crevices of healthcare is really an understatement. So Synergy was a software that answered the cries of professionals who've been crying out before the pandemic.
Okay. And I didn't know what that term was until you and I spoke. So
I know.
I was clueless as well. So let's start there to
Yeah.
break the term down for people that haven't heard that before. Let us know what that industry, because I think people always confuse it with just anxiety and for lack of a better word, people that are slow or something like that. What does it actually mean?
That, yeah, definitely lack of better words, right? So we're talking so we're talking about the special needs industry, right? That's
Mm,
probably the term most people understand, or vulnerable population, right?
right.
Special needs or vulnerable population. But IDD includes mental health diagnoses. It doesn't surround mental health diagnoses, it includes it. So we're talking about a number of individuals, ages. I worked with the aging population. So from 18 to 80, all
Okay.
right, who have the learning capacity of a 2-year-old, okay, and the motor skills of a toddler.
Mm.
And let me just turn off my ringer here, guys. Sorry, this is live, so things happen, right? Let me just do this. Let me just put this on vibrate. So we're talking about a population. When we mention disabilities, this is developmental disabilities, okay? Not just, people who are wheelchair bound, okay? When we mention disabilities, we're not just talking about VA, and we're not just talking about, our aging grandparents, all right? We're talking about individuals who were born mentally disabled, right? Who have no other support systems outside of their close family, if they have family, and or Medicaid providers, okay? So a number of providers and professionals who work with this vulnerable population that nobody talks about, right? We're talking about advancing telehealth for healthcare professionals, but the only industry within healthcare that people are paying attention to and having discussions about are hospitals, hospice, and nurses. Okay. What about the number of providers and professionals who are left trying to figure it all out on their own? They
True.
don't have access to tools that are specifically geared towards their job duties and responsibilities. And we're talking about administrative supports here, right? A number of professionals and providers who are literally having to make up their own administrative processes just to keep up. So now we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? We're adopting more telehealth. How can we still provide quality of care and services from home, right? How can we do that safely? How
Yep.
can we give providers or professionals the means and the tools that they need to continue their jobs, right? And to ensure the safety of the population we're serving without the right tools to do that. So I realized when scaling Synergy, it was more than just talking about the software. It was educating an entire public about who we are and that our industry exists within healthcare, and our cries need to be listened to as well. Providers' cries need to be listened to as well.
Yeah.
Also, you
Getting.
know, yeah, people ask the question, so, are you doing pitch contests? Are you standing in front of it? Right? That's the idea that people think, or the route that people think that they have to go
Mm-hmm.
when you're scaling or creating a new path that doesn't exist. I couldn't go that route, Daryl. I couldn't go the traditional route of entering pitch contests. Number one, again, because people didn't know who we were or knew anything about our industry.
Right.
I couldn't mom and pop this, right? I couldn't go and look for investors, and investors are sitting at me, looking at me in meetings like, huh? What? What's okay, right? Explain IDD. Who are you? What do you do? Because it's an industry that has really been hidden in the dark crevices of healthcare for too long. So Synergy was born, as a solution to a number of cries that professionals and providers were sending out saying, don't forget about us. Okay, we need telehealth as well. We're trying to keep up with it all. Our responsibility is to keep up with it all, but how can we do that without the right tools to do that, right? We talk about developing adaptive equipment for the population, for our population that we serve. And I think it's wonderful that we're developing technology that, our population can use, that can help them use a telephone,
Mm.
right? Or can teach them how to drive, because a lot of the times they want to be able to be independent in a lot of ways, and this is the goal. So it's great that we're developing adaptive equipment for the population, but what about adaptive equipment for the professionals that serve them? And
Yeah.
that is what Synergy Plus is.
Definitely
Yeah.
taking care of them and advocating, because they obviously have a skill set to do so. So it's definitely important to equip them.
Right,
Um,
exactly. Right. So, when they, are awarded, new equipment, it's the professionals that's teaching the population how to use it at all. Right. it's the providers who are ensuring quality of care and services, making sure that continues. But how can they do that if they have nothing in hand, no access to anything, trying to figure it all out on their own, reading a number of different policies and procedures, trying to access this tool, trying to get advice from other providers and professionals, trying to put it all together without the tools to do so. So Synergy Plus is saying, hey, let's develop a tool that basically gives them the answers, gives them the questions that they're asking, plus the answers to the questions that they're looking for. Give them the answers, right? Give them the tool, give them the blueprint, develop a tool that guides them on best practices, that encompasses policies and procedures, Medicaid policies and procedures, right? If they require documents, provide them the documents. Don't, have providers spending ample time making up documents, having to study policy just to ensure that they have everything in place. To turn the policies and procedures manual into an auditing tool. And that's what Synergy is.
It sounds like you did a pitch contest right there. You got the pitch contest already nailed down.
Hey, well, we need it. I'm glad. I'm glad you said
Krieger
that.
Here jumped in. She said, Thanks, Rosalind, for jumping in here.
Yeah.
And she said, preach.
Hey, thank you, Rosalind. Thank you, Rosalind. Yeah. So there's somebody that obviously understands this language, that speaks this language. Thank you.
Yeah, she said, hello, Miss Diora. And then Rosalind actually said, yes, there's such a need. So she believes you on that.
Thank you, Rosalind. I appreciate that.
A question, though, from the audience. Is anyone looking to try to assist you in fixing this challenge? So you mentioned you're kind of making this industry.
A great question.
So is anybody else helping champion this right now?
Woo, that's a great question. At this point, the answer is yes, but it was not always a yes.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to be very candid here. Right. If you're ready for that, Daryl, and everybody that's listening. So yes, right now, thank you for that question, Anala. It was Anala.
Yep.
But it was not always this way. Synergy has been in place since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're in 2020. Okay.
It's been a while.
Right. It's been a while. But the journey was, number one, educating the public about our industry, right? Because people just didn't know, right? But another part of the journey was we almost had to wait for a pandemic before the idea could even be taken seriously, right? So what I keep saying was there was a cry for help before this global pandemic, okay? Before this pandemic. There was a cry for help before. And so the work, number one, to get responsible stakeholders to listen was another thing, right? So in 2018 or late 2017, I believe November of 2017 or November of 2018, excuse me, I had the opportunity to demonstrate Synergy's prototype to our Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities here in Georgia, okay? So these are our state legislators who write our policies and procedures, who writes the policies and procedures that IDD, okay? Again, Intellectual Developmental Disabilities. So I'm not gonna keep saying, I'm just gonna say IDD now that you guys have got it. I hope you've got it. Intellectual Developmental Disabilities or Special Needs Population, so IDD. So our state legislators, who are responsible for writing policies and procedures, I had the opportunity to present Synergy's prototype, and this was in late 2017, 2018. And so their response was, we can't say yes and we can't say no, right? Mm-hmm. And why was that? Because there was not enough clarity about what was working and what was not working, right? Because there's so many different components that our Department of Behavioral Health has developed in trying to assist providers. But the blockage or the doorway was that, well, listen to the professionals who work within provider agencies who have the answers. All right. That was the issue. Listen to the professionals who have the answers to the questions you're asking of how to better streamline services. And it took a pandemic in order to get responsible stakeholders to listen. So is there any support? Now that there's this rush to adopt more telehealth, now that there's this rush to try to figure out ways to better streamline services, specifically administrative services, right? So again, I've had the opportunity to connect with the Department of Behavioral Health. I've had the opportunity to connect with providers in the state of Virginia who are saying, hey, can we write a support letter to support Synergy? You know, especially entry-level providers and professionals who are entering the industry for the first time. They are looking for help from everyone, you know, about policy. Okay, what do I need? What documents do I need? If I have these documents, what do these documents need to encompass, right? Help me to keep up, help me, you know. So there are a number of providers, Virginia, California, here in Georgia, who are saying, we are willing to write a support letter because we do need help. We are tired of trying to figure it out all on our own. I've had the opportunity to speak with points of contact who've worked within Washington, who have been a part of creating, I don't know if anyone here have heard of the Patients Over Paper initiative,
Let us know
right?
in the comments if you heard of that Patients Over Paper, Patients Over Paper initiative.
Patients Over Paper initiative, thank you. And what that is, you know, trying to find better ways to streamline services so that professionals and providers aren't so focused on everything documentation, so that they can redirect their focus back on the population, right? So a lot of the issues that are happening is providers and professionals are so immersed in paperwork, right? Because they're trying to figure it all out on their own. Again, not having access to proper tools, so they're developing stuff, have stuff all over the place, policy information falling within the gaps. So how can we better streamline services so that we can redirect our focus back on the population? So we can
too, because of COVID, I'd imagine. I mean, there's probably a lot more bottlenecking because they're doing the paperwork at home more than they used to. So it's definitely a challenge. Catch up with comments quick. Rosalind put in here, Canda's my middle name. So you get a little jokester there with Rosalind saying Canda's.
Straight shooter. That's right. I like that hashtag. I am definitely that, Rosalind. I'm definitely a straight shooter. Thank you. But yeah, so.
Ross just came in here real quick.
Okay. Oh, he's laughing. Is that a laugh?
You might have a contact here. Somebody asking for blackgirlsdrone@gmail.com. Oh, she wants health insurance. Okay, that's for me. I guess I'll take that one.
Oh, okay, that's for you. All right. Well, inbox that. Inbox that now. Right. Inbox him that later.
And last thing, Rose put yes for you, so she's agreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears a quick second, just because
let's do that.
This is an interesting path you're on now, and it's definitely needed. And mental health has been definitely the star of 2020, I'd say, because we're all at home now, so we're kind of noticing this more. But you are talking about making pain into power, and how anxiety is something you focus on. So let's break that down, because I don't know the stat. You probably know it. Tons of Americans suffer from anxiety, and you're basically talking about a way to turn that into a power. So break that down for people, how you got into that and what that actually means.
So in order to be able to teach, just from my perspective, to teach and share any modality or perspective, you have to have first journeyed through it yourself. Okay. Because I journeyed through the darkness of my own mental health, of anxiety and depression, there were so many things that I uncovered about myself that I knew that were so powerful, so life-changing, so shifting in a way, that I knew that there had to be others, especially women, especially girls, who had some of the same questions, who had some of the same feats, who were looking for answers looking for answers about themselves, right? So when I journeyed through the darkness of my own mental health and uncovered for myself why anxiety and depression was showing up, it became a mission for me to share this, because it wasn't enough to just be diagnosed with a mental health disorder, right? What we're calling mental health disorders is really an immense amount of energy and power that we have taught ourselves to disguise since childhood. And we call it childhood trauma, right? So when I start to uncover these ideas about myself, When I started to realize that anxiety and depression was merely energy that I have disguised and kept, just packed within the crevices of my mind and in my heart and in my body, and started to do the inner work, started to, what we call the dark night of the soul journey. If anyone has ever heard of the dark night of the soul journey, comment right now, because it's a powerful journey. And it's a journey that I say is a journey for warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So uncovering shifted perspectives about anxiety and depression is more than just labeling somebody with a diagnosis, all right? There's a number of women and girls, right? When we see the onset of rise of anxiety and depression, that's not just coming from, uh, um, you know, instances that's happening around you, right? This is coming from deeply rooted ideas that you've adopted about yourself, whether it begin in childhood or if it began in your early adult life. So as I started to uncover these deeply rooted ideas that I adopted about myself, right? That I adopted about myself from those around me who I called, friends, who we've called, colleagues, people we've worked with, even our own family members. When I started to uncover the ideas I adopted about myself, I realized that this is truly the journey from pain into power. What I'm calling pain is really an immense amount of power that I can use, right, to thrive, that I can use to even heal myself, that I can use to uncover this badassness that's been covered for too long, right? So what we're calling anxiety and depression is energy that's waiting to be unleashed, right? That's why a lot of those who feel it in their chest, they feel it in their heart, right? They're having these ideas, keeping them impacted, keeping them covered in, keeping them bottled up, keeping dreams you've had, keeping parts of yourself hidden off because I want to wear this disguise. I want to wear this air of professionalism, right? Whatever that looks like, right? Knowing behind closed doors you dance naked, okay?
Right.
Okay, I want to wear this disguise of whatever it is. Just fill in the blank. And so you feel this immense amount of energy showing up exactly where you have pressed down all of those ideas about yourself. You're feeling your chest pound. You feel your body getting hot from anxiety. You feel the heavy weighted emotions or merely emotions that you have kept tucked away. And so this onset or an increase that we feel as we age, right? I wrote an article. It's Anxiety and Depression Speaks. What are they trying to tell you? I mentioned it a little earlier. Anxiety and Depression Speaks. What are they trying to tell you? I highlight that when we feel energies and emotions in our bodies increase over time, what we're calling anxiety and depression, what is really happening is these ideas have aged over time, right? Much like we have grown up on the outside, anxiety and depression are growing up on the inside. They have grown up, they have accumulated over time. So you're feeling this increase and this onset because this is the amount of years that you've worn this disguise. Does this make sense? Does this make sense to anybody that's listening to this?
We got some comments up here because Rosalind put out here, yes, it's hard work and worth it. I'm creating poetry now around it. Less shame now is liberating.
That's right. That's right. And Rosalind, that's because you have decided your power is in writing, right? Right? So you're creating poetry. So you, Rosalind, are calling the power of anxiety and depression to the forefront. So what traditional approaches have taught was to rid ourselves of it. Okay? Traditional approaches tell you that something is wrong and you need to get rid of it. Anxiety and depression isn't showing up that you need to get rid of it or that something is wrong. Anxiety and depression is showing up, letting you know that, hey, all of your power that you've been hidden, we're sitting right here. It's not about getting rid of me. It's about exposing me, right? It's about exposing those parts of yourself. So anxiety and depression is showing up, banging at the door, not saying, get rid of me, but to set me free, meaning setting yourself free, meaning to expose these parts of yourself that you've kept hidden for way too long.
Yeah,
So I developed.
about, I don't mean to cut you off. As you say, that makes
Yeah.
me think about you and I talked offline about my music background and me rapping. And
Yes.
probably, I think I started when I was 10 or something like that. And when I got to high school, it was kind of like a release because I'd be sitting in the back writing lyrics or something like that. And then chance to like freestyle somebody or battle in the hallway. It was kind of, I was nervous, but getting it out, it was better. Like if I wasn't nervous, it wasn't good. And I have anxiety, it wasn't good. Like if I didn't feel like, oh crap, I gotta show improve right now, it made a different side come out. So I could see when you say channeling that anxiety, because it was anxiety. Like, am I gonna sound good? Are they gonna like me? All that went through my head, but I'm like, I need to do this because I said I do this. So I could definitely see the power in channeling that negative energy, or if you want to call it that, channeling that energy into something better.
That's absolutely it, Daryl. And the fortunate part of it for you was you were able to grab hold of that idea in high school, right? You were able to grab hold of the fact that, all right, there's something coming up for me, where most people, this energy is so powerful that I'm gonna retreat because I don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Right. So part of that is not knowing how to handle your own power, because your own power is so demanding, right? And I'm going to curse right now. It's so demanding and so unfuckwithable, right? That you feel it boldly and strongly. And for some of us, instead of being able to use that feeling that is coming up for you, a lot of us shrink, right? Because a lot of the times when some of us did decide to tap into just a little bit of what that would even look like, those around you were uncomfortable with it, right? This is where we start to talk about friends who no longer were friends anymore, right? This is where we start to talk about the contrast in the energies and people that you meet who aren't necessarily comfortable with you tapping into those most powerful parts of yourself, right? So in childhood, some of the backlash would be, who do you think you are? Especially for women and girls, right? Who do you think you are that you think you can, oh, or if
you think he's special,
you think you're special, right? And to you, that registers as, well, for those who are, that register as, well, something's wrong when I do this, right? When I do this part of me, when I expose this part of me, when I speak from this part of me, when I act and make decisions from this most powerful part of me, somehow people don't want to talk to me. I'm losing the friends that I'm calling my friends. Even some of us within family, when I decide to speak from this powerful place within myself, I am fearful that I'm going to lose a family member. I'm fearful that I'm going to lose friends. I'm fearful, for some women, that I'm going to lose my relationship with this man, with this guy, because I'm choosing to speak from the most powerful place in myself. So in order to save face, so to speak, right? In order to save face, what we call taking the high road, which is truly the lower road if you're not coming fully into your power, right? You turn away from it, you shrink it, you cover it, you disguise it. You play this over submissive role. You play this overly humble role. And all of what you're pressing down and disguising is showing up as anxiety and as depression.
Well,
so my mission.
You got them going now. Hold on. Wait a minute. You got them going. And thanks to your podcast, and I understand the dark night of the journey. So now you taught her about something.
Awesome.
Rose put, I have been saying for years, I mentor our youth and have been asking for help for years. Yes, say it. Yes, Rose. And Elizabeth put out here, yes, you explained it so well. So you broke it down. Yes. Yeses for some other people here. You got a bunch of yeses. Man.
Yes.
Everybody liking that. Anala says yes. Rose says yes.
Ashe. Yes. And in Spanish, sí.
Who is this? Somebody blocked their profile name, but yes, women suffer more because they have to hide themselves and most repress their power.
That's exactly it. Thank you for.
I'm sorry. Arnanda Wright said, or White. Arnanda Wright.
Okay, it just says LinkedIn user here. Ananda said that?
Yeah, Orlando White.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Women especially have been, women and girls, again, starting in our childhood, and from so many things that we call traditions. So, Daryl, for anyone who's been following, my work for some time, you'll see that part of my work is to defy the odds of, to redefine traditions.
Yeah.
Okay, if you've been following my work for a while, you'll see that that's part of my mission, is to redefine what we're calling traditions, because a lot of what and I'm doing air quotes on purpose, right? A lot of what we title traditions, right, are merely practices to continue to cut women off from the power of themselves, from the power of who we really freaking are, right? So we call it traditions in some societies, right? To say, well, it's tradition that a woman should remain meek and docile, and it's tradition that, whatever these traditions that we, carried and developed over time, we're all designed to keep these parts of ourselves quiet, keep them docile, keep them subservient, keep them submissive, so the woman is cut off from the power of herself. And so we wonder why there's an onset and increase of mental health disorders in women and in girls. This is kind of a no-brainer. So the article that I wrote, Fear of Feminine Power is a Mental Disorder, part of the opening line is, some of the research that's happening right now with, or previously happened, but are currently happening. It's been actually a long, drawn out process of trying to figure out why there is depression and anxiety in women who have experienced FGM. And I'm like, get the F out of here.
It's kind of obvious why that would happen.
Are you serious?
Right.
Right? So the reason why I titled it Fear of Feminine Power is a Mental Disorder is to highlight that. How dare you question? You try having a vagina, having some way cut away at it, and see how mentally stable you are after it's over. All right. Not because of healthcare reasons. Okay. It's not because of some, healthcare scare and all of a sudden, no. All right. So you try going through this process. You try being married off at 10, right? You try being married off at 10 while, people or families scrape up money and change, calling it a dowry, while you're for sale to the highest freaking bidder, and see how mentally stable you are. Yeah. Right? So fear of feminine power is a mental disorder, highlights what we call traditions, right? Right? Fear of feminine power is a mental disorder, highlights what we call traditions, which is really practices to cut a woman off from herself. So you are that afraid, you fear, her knowing herself so much, you fear that idea, being so expansive and so global that you literally have created traditions that have sustained throughout centuries just to keep her meek, just to keep her subservient, just to keep her as sheep. Right? That's some serious stuff.
All these constructs that for women, for people, Hispanic, there's all these constructs to keep people kind of down.
If you go to that length, just think about it. Throughout centuries, if there are traditions that have been in place to go to such great lengths to keep you quiet, women, girls, I'm speaking to you, divine feminines, I'm speaking to you. If there have been traditions in place to keep you this quiet, this cut off from yourself, then what does that say about you, about the power of you? So my work is to work with those women and girls who are ready to uncover that most powerful parts of themselves, who are ready to ask the questions, ask the questions of uncovering these ideas of traditions, right? Women and girls who are no longer turning the other cheek, right? Who are ready to come into full power of who they are. That is my mission. That is my work. And so it shows up through anxiety and depression. as communication, as a symbol from this most powerful part of yourself that you've kept hidden for so long, is showing up as anxiety and depression, saying, let us out, which is essentially letting yourself out, which is essentially set yourself free, set your power free.
You going to church on them right now? Well, we had some analogy put out
Ashe.
there. I was taught not to display anxiety as it would make me look weak. That's definitely
Oh,
super
very
bad
good.
culture. We don't want to show anxiety at all.
Very good.
Sleep or something.
Very good.
Oh,
Yeah. And a lot of times we didn't even know to label it as anxiety.
yep.
Right. So I'll give you guys. So there was an event. This is the first time that I've written it in one of my articles, but I was at an event, and this was when I realized, Timmesha, you're either gonna unleash whatever this is inside of you, or you're gonna die, right? And the kind of death I'm talking about was not necessarily a physical death, although a lot of the times, mental health disorders that haven't been dealt with can show up in the body so extremely so that you become hospitalized, right? So to me, I asked myself, Timmesha, you're either going to deal with this, whatever this is, or you're going to die, okay? Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you're going to die. So I was at an event, and there was so much going on. I, at the time, was consulting with a number of providers. I was a IDD consultant. And my providers were calling me because there were some things that they were coming up for an audit. So we're just, communicating back and forth about, what needed to be done, and do this and do that, and audit for the. And in my personal life, I was dealing with something that almost crushed me and my family. We were fighting for the life of my mother. So I show up at this event, and I sit down at the table. There were some people that were waiting for me there. I sit down at the table, and I could not be still. I was feeling overheated. I couldn't focus. People were kind of a blur to me. I get up and I sit down. I get up, I walk to the restroom, go to the restroom. I come back, I sit down. I could not get myself to cool down. I could not get myself to calm down, whatever it was that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grabbed my things. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to have to go. I just can't be here. I'm going to have to go. And they're looking at me like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm just going to have to go. I sit in the car and I just burst out into tears.
Mm-hmm.
I burst out into tears. Again, I am, working with developing synergy. I'm working with things that were happening in my personal life concerning my mother. I'm working with some of the stress that was coming from my provider clients, everything all at the same time, carrying the load of so much, not releasing anything, carrying it all. I sit in my car and I break out into tears. And I realized that this is the first time I experienced a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First time I experienced a panic attack. And so I'm sitting in my car, and that's when I say out loud, I said, Timmesha, whatever this is that you are, all of this that you are holding on to in your personal life, in your professional life, within yourself, everything that you're holding on to, you're either going to release it or it's going to kill you. That was the threshold for me that catapulted me into journeying through the darkness of my own mental health and uncovering all of this power for myself. So,
turn that pain into power. You did. That's beautiful.
In many ways, many ways.
Well,
So, yeah.
that ties into what you were saying, because Rose put in there a lot of our youth going to doing drugs and alcohol because they don't know how to deal with depression. Very true, especially in minority and lower income. And, I had a panic attack, I think probably 2012, and I thought I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
The symptoms kind of seemed similar, but I never had spoken about that. My family didn't know what to look for. So it's definitely something we just kind of cover up. And you always invite the greatest people here. Can't thank you enough. So Rosalind, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Rosalind.
Also, our boys are in jails because they can't express themselves. They need help. Don't express themselves. They need more of this out there. Very true.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. So Thank you, Nala. I saw that. Thank you. You're so right. Yeah. So my work has been charged with working with women and girls because of these ideas of playing these subservient roles. But absolutely, our boys definitely, and our men too, boys to men before they become men, right? Going ahead and dealing with some of these ideas for themselves. And sure, addictions play a huge role in not being able to manage and it's not even about managing depression. It's, first of all, let me just clarify some things.
Go for it.
There was somebody that commented, they don't know how to deal with depression. The goal isn't to deal with depression. Okay. That's not the goal. The goal is to uncover what depression even is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what we've been taught about what depression and anxiety are, for those of us who are on this journey to uncovering our pain, right, and turning it into power, it's not about dealing with it. It's about uncovering what it is and using it as your fuel.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's exactly what it is. And this isn't you know, something that you do to trick yourself or to make yourself feel better. This isn't that. This isn't the run of the mill pain to power stuff. This isn't that idea of when life throws you lemons, make lemonade. This isn't even that. This is so far beyond that. All right. This is for those who are specifically here as powerful creators, powerful innovators, writers, musicians, poets, speakers, whoever you are in your value. You've taught yourself to disguise and hide your value so much so that it shows up as anxiety and depression. So we're
Mm-hmm.
not talking about dealing with it. We're talking about uncovering your value that you've kept hidden. That's what we're talking about.
Hit
Excuse
some
me.
reactions for that. Hit some reactions for that, please, people. But I
All
think
right.
an interesting thing about that, there's probably, I would say, American culture. I know the best. I've lived here the longest, but American culture always says to deal with it, or there's prescription medications to take. So it's really, we're almost kind of trained to
Yeah.
feed big pharma and let them give you a Zoloft because
Thank
that,
you.
because you think about that phrase, deal with depression, is very commonly said in popular
Uh
film,
huh. Uh
TV shows,
huh.
walking at the water cooler. You
Yeah.
commonly hear, I got to deal with my depression. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So this is shift. The information that I share is shifted perspectives,
mm,
right? If you want to adopt those perspectives for yourself, that's fine, right? Because these ideas aren't for everybody.
right.
If you feel that medication is the route that you need to take, by all means take it. All
Hmm.
right. If you feel that the traditional old day ways of doing things is what fits you, then by all means do that. But this is for the people that know that there's something else that lies beneath, that is done with the traditional way of doing things because they realize that they are not traditional. Okay. That is done with the norm, what we call the normal ways of doing things, because they realize that they are unique in and of themselves, but who is sharing these perspectives enough in a way that they can even get that, they can even understand that they can even somehow attach that the reason why this is showing up for me is because I have an immense amount of power in me that I'm supposed to unleash. Just even getting that idea,
Yeah,
right? Because
huge.
there are some people who choose to attach with, well, no, I'm something's wrong with me and I need to fix it. Right? There are people that want to attach it, but this is not. This is for the people that know that there's something else that lies beneath, that lives beneath, and they are ready to uncover that. Right? So, in order to uncover that, you have to come outside of the box on your perspectives about it. You have to come outside of the box of what traditional approaches are saying. So,
Hmm.
these are for the people who are ready for that, who are ready to uncover that.
You get some fans. Elizabeth put there. Rose said something about not enough people talk about this. So she said it's true.
Yeah.
Sad as F. I'll put
Yeah.
the edited version.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you. I love the F word. I'm cool with the F word. I love it. Yeah,
Well,
right. So, not talking about this, there are so many people that are talking about mental health disorders, anxiety, and depression,
yep.
but not from the perspective of empowerment, right? we're talking more about, we're talking more about how it's increasing, but no one is delving deep into the ideas of these shifted perspectives about why they're showing up at all.
Oh yeah, mindset's so huge in everything. I mean, not just in mental health, but like anything you do, mindset is such a big thing that I think a lot of people on LinkedIn realize, because it's very entrepreneur focused. You start realizing how powerful the mindset is of the people that are winning. Is their mindset drove most of it. And Rosny even put in there, popping pills and healing is temporary escape, because your mind's going to keep on doing what it's going to do unless you have that shift. Oh, she also put up there, I'm Team Burgess.
Oh, thank you, Rosalind. Rosalind, connect with me on here, please. Send me a connection request. That would be great. I would love to connect with you further. Love that.
But that's important. I like that the way you're framing this. It's simple in theory, but it's still hard, because I mean, a mindset shift is weight loss, but it's hard in execution. It's simple in communication, but it's hard in execution. So to kind of leave a parting piece of wisdom, what is for you to pain in the power? Was that the key part? Just kind of getting people to get their mind wrapped around that nothing's wrong with you. Is that kind of the foundation of what you're doing?
I did a video. So did you say we're wrapping it up? How much time do I have?
People got to go get their kids and all that fun stuff. We're gonna do like we're going deep. That's why I'm like, man, I want to stop, but I want to be respectful of the audience.
How much time do I have, Daryl?
You got 10 minutes.
Okay, all right, got 10 minutes. All right, so let me.
Rosalind already.
Okay, so I want to go back. I want to go back to some aspects of, when I started Synergy Plus, and how all of this actually streamlines together as I was doing the inner work of myself, building a software company when I had really no idea what I was doing, following that inner intuition, right? And then dealing with my own individual processes. And so I want you guys to kind of really listen to this, because I want to streamline it all together, because all of it is kind of like a snowball effect, right? So I was sitting in a meeting one day. And this is something, remember earlier, I posted that this is something I'm going to be sharing, some information that I've never shared publicly before. This will probably be the first and last time I ever share this publicly, right? And so I was sitting in a staff meeting with one of my provider clients, sitting in a staff meeting. And we were going over just new policies and procedures and training material. And I was, conducting a training. And one of my client's staff members was sharing some information about training and things like that. And there was some confusion about what was actually in our policy manual. Okay, just keep following me here, because I'm going to get to the point.
Okay.
And so there was some confusion about what was in our policy manual. And when I checked, I said, well, I'm not sure if that's correct. I'm looking in the policy and I don't see that here. And the young lady goes on and says, well, it's in there. So, you're going to need to. And I said, well, I'm looking at it, and let me send an email, with our policy administration and just check to see. Sent an email, got an email back. And it turns out the young lady was incorrect about what she was saying was a requirement. The young lady got so upset that she stood up and attempted to physically assault me in a provider meeting. Okay.
Wait. What kind of meeting was this for? This is a meeting, correct?
This is a staff meeting that I'm having with one of my clients. Okay, with one of my clients.
Carry on.
Okay, so the young lady got so upset that she stood up, kicked her chair over, literally held up her dukes, and attempted to physically assault me. Okay, that there are people in this provider meeting. This is, professional atmosphere. I am a consultant. And so what it said to me, what it said to me was that if there is this much confusion about policy information, if there is this much upset and this much chaos and unprofessionalism because of confusion about policy between our professionals within our industries, that shows up as aggression, even in a professional environment, then we need to not only, one, develop tools that can support if it causes a person to get that angry, right? Not only do we need to develop tools, but we need to really gear processes that focus on the mental health of those that are rendering services. When I wrote the article, Anxiety and Depression Speaks, what are they trying to tell you? A theory of mental health disorders and leaders of public trust. This is what I mean, right? In journeying through the darkness of mental health for yourself, if you do not take that journey through the darkness of your own mental health, it shows up in every sector, whether in family, whether in professional environments, whether in friendship environments. And so what that said for me was, okay, Timmesha, not only are you doing the inner work, right, but you're noticing it show up around you, and what is going to be done about that.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, how, how you take the journey towards mental health is beginning with yourself, looking around you, realizing that pours over into every environment around you, realizing that you have a choice that you can make, that you are not stuck, right? That there are things within you that you can uncover. And when you get with somebody who can walk with you through that very darkness, that's half the battle, right? That's half the battle.
That is
So taking the journey through the darkness of your own mental health and getting with somebody who's journeyed through it themselves, who can walk with you.
Well, that'll teach you something. That's an interesting conversation or situation you had. And but real quick, Rosalind said she sent you a connection request 2 minutes into the show. So
thanks, Rosalind. Oh, you did? Okay.
But
2 minutes in.
here. This is really good information. I work with people with brain injuries, and this topic touches what I faced during the rehab and the physical therapist. I feel I'm being equipped to educate at the same time. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I think we should talk about that, because I mean, a brain injury definitely would inhibit learning ability. So I think
definitely.
I love this show. Thank you, Queen and Olive, for throwing that out there.
Thank you.
So one last thing. So you have two sides. Well, not just to say two sides, but two large sides that I know about you. So you have your personal development you're doing with turning pain into power, the Fireside Global Chat to Women. Then you also have Synergy. So if people want to learn about those entities, what should they do to learn more about your work?
Yeah, please. You can visit us on the website, visit synergyiddplus.com. You can read all about our patent pending software technology there. It is patent pending. It is a prototype, right? So currently I'm working directly with responsible stakeholders, connecting with stakeholders such as Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. Thank you for putting that on the screen, Daryl. You work so fast. I love it. I've recently entered into innovation, like an innovation challenge, which is actually being put on by the Department of Community Health and Administration for Community Living. I've recently submitted Synergy for innovative ideas to CMS, Center for Medicaid and Medicare. But if you want to read more about it, please go there. You can simply email me at timmeshaburgess@gmail.com. Also, I mentioned earlier that I work privately and exclusively with women and girls who are ready to turn their pain into power. So if you feel that you are ready to uncover your power, I'm available to walk with you. You can read more about how to connect with me on patreon.com/Phoenix Rising Exclusives. Patreon.com/Phoenix Rising Exclusives. Say again?
Can't type that fast, Timmesha. You got me on that.
That's
one.
okay. That's okay. They can find it on my page. They can find it on my page, or I'll post it. But it's patreon.com/Phoenix Rising Exclusives. You can find more information about how to connect with me and work one-on-one. Let me walk with you through the darkness of your anxiety and depression. And also, if you want to read my articles, visit me on LinkedIn. You can click articles and take a gander at some of that information there. And also, pertaining to humanitarian work, my humanitarian mission is to serve women and girls abroad who are struggling with anxiety and depression. So if you would like to support that, if you would like to support that mission and my work in that mission, please email me at timmeshaburgess@gmail.com.
I can handle that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Daryl.
MSNBC and CNN, you don't appreciate there's some guy feverishly typing behind.
Well, you're doing it all yourself, man. You're doing it all yourself. That's that power part.
And I asked the question if anybody's seen a fight in a professional setting like you spoke about, and Rosalind actually said, my father used to fight in those settings. So
oh no. Well, see, that's too much of a norm. We need to, untether that. That's not a norm. So,
Yeah.
Synergy is a software that is in place, that's built on integrity, so that we never have to, work or create these poisonous environments for professionals, because the people that are really being affected as a population,
Yep.
So yeah.
Well, thank you, Timmesha. This has been super deep and insightful, and I appreciate the information. And everybody that's
Thanks,
on
Daryl.
here, tag someone that needs help with learning more about Synergy, Fireside, Global Chats, Turning Pain into Power, all the wonderful work this queen is doing. And please be safe and all that good stuff. It's COVID still going around and all that. So physically distance, wear a mask, wash your hands.
Yeah. Well, you know how I feel about that, Daryl, but we're not going to go there. That's a conversation.
Early voting starts in Georgia October 12th. I will say this
yes, it does.
November 3rd.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
In Georgia, October 12th. Whatever state you're in, look it up so you can know if you can drive down to the polling place or drive to the box. October 12th. Right. Georgia. All the rest of my other states, look it up where it is and participate. And Carl jumped in. Hey, Carl, thanks, King, for jumping in. He jumped in at the very end. Thank you, King. But y'all be safe. We will catch you next time on Business with Benefits. And please, please, please be safe.